Hello, turn it up. About to get nerdy on some terms and conditions. Terms and conditions, I get asked about this every single day. So I figured it's time that I actually cover it. I cannot keep these glasses on, so I'm going to move to my regular glasses. Okay, so terms and conditions. This is legal compliance week. It turned into 2 weeks that I've been doing this. First off, my name's Chance Reynolds. I'm a business attorney. I help a lot of online companies get all of their compliance, their legal compliance in order. I kind of specialize in legal liability protection. This is a super distracting thing over here in the corner. I specialize in legal liability protection with LLCs, S corps, all of these things, C corps, all of that. And I also do, some terms and conditions, things like that. So I don't do as much of that. I don't enjoy doing that as much, but I know a ton about it and I understand how they work. And I'm a pretty good resource compared to what most people do for their terms and conditions. So I guarantee you, if you listen to this presentation and you watch this, you're going to know a lot more. Probably you'll even be able to go out and make your own terms and conditions. If not, you can always reach out to me. Of course, I don't just give away stuff for free. This training is for free, but if you need further help with it, I can always help you. Let me share this little presentation that I'm going to do. So there is something I learned when I was doing getting my undergraduate degree, and it's that when you start a presentation, you tell someone what you're going to tell them, then you tell them what you told them. So I'm trying to kind of get back to my roots on that. When it's a presentation that is kind of so specific to, it's linear. It's very linear. It's not something where you can just kind of rattle off and people will be able to understand. So this is what I'm going to cover. What your company, what terms and conditions do as far as what should be included. So this should be included. What will your company provide the customer? What's the customer going to provide to your company? Obviously, that's going to be money generally. What will happen if things don't work out? Your refund policy. How are you guys going to get out of the terms and conditions? Which it's best to think about the terms and conditions as a contract between yourself and your customers, because that's what it is. That's what it's going to serve as, and that's how you should have it drafted. Number 4, how and when will payments be processed? That's something that has to be in there. What are the procedures to get out of the relationship? So not only do you need to have in number 3, the refund policy of how the money is going to get refunded, but you also need to talk about the steps that your customer needs to take and the steps that you will take as well to end the relationship. So it's not enough to say we can refund your money. You need to give them like some concrete steps. And it's not like this stuff is all legally required. These are just what's called best practices. These are the things that are going to make your customers the happiest and make your business run a lot smoother. If this stuff's covered in the terms and conditions, of course, people will reach out to you and ask you how to do it, and you can just refer them to say, look at clause 7 of the terms and conditions, and that will outline exactly the steps you need to take. Okay, so number 6, you also need to lay out exactly where the customer can find your privacy policy. And tomorrow I'm going to do like an in-depth presentation, kind of similar to what I'm doing today, about what needs to be included in your privacy policy. And of course, everything I talk about is not going to be very, specific to your business. And of course, this is not legal advice. I have to give this disclaimer. This is not meant to be a substitute for hiring an attorney, but most people just aren't even doing this. A lot of people don't even have terms on their website, or they're just copy and pasting somebody else's. So I feel like I'm doing a pretty good service to lay this out. And even if you don't hire an attorney, at least you have some knowledge of what needs to be in there. You also need to talk about where any litigation will take place. So that just means if in the event that a lawsuit happens, you need to make sure that you have it laid out where that lawsuit has to be filed. Most of the time you want that to be where you are located physically, because you don't want to say it's going to happen in Delaware, because Delaware is a great place in terms of protecting businesses, and you live in Texas, and then you got to travel to Delaware and hire attorneys up there to like help you litigate. That's a real dumb mistake that people make. Number 8, what type of activity is acceptable? Meaning, when this person buys your product, I'm talking specifically to kind of online entrepreneurs here. A lot of us, what we do is when someone buys our product or buys our service or even gets a free download of ours, we'll put them over into a Facebook group or a forum or something like that. So you need to outline exactly what type of activity is going to be acceptable in that forum. Because if you say in the product offer, in your offer, that if somebody buys your product, then they get access to this private Facebook group, and then they're spamming in there and they're doing all these things that you don't, being aggressive towards other people in the group. Just trying to think of common problems in there. Those are probably the two most common, like negativity, all these things. You want to have outlined in the contract, the terms and conditions, what type of behavior will get them kicked out of those groups. So they're not, immediately requesting refunds for the whole period, basically saying you scammed them. You promised them access to this Facebook group and then you denied it. And then boilerplate stuff is number 9. Boilerplate just means standard things that are kind of similar in every type of contract. And that's kind of like legalese or something. But boilerplate just means like you have to have these things, like a severability clause. I'm not going to get into the details of what these are. You can look in any terms and conditions, and if they're worth a damn, they'll have these things in there. They have limits on liability. They have an indemnity clause, and I'm not going to go in depth about what those are because that's just standard stuff that's in every single contract. So terms and conditions. Like I said, you just need to make sure that your terms and conditions are laid out in a way that are very simple. You don't have to have a bunch of stuff in there that doesn't make sense. It's best to think about terms and conditions as what the rules of this game are going to be. So you're outlining exactly what the obligations of each party are going to be. And business is like a game, and every game has to have rules or it's just anarchy. So you have to kind of just think about it in that metaphor. So this particularly is rough on people, and it's what's going to happen if things don't work out between you. You need a way to get out. So this is where terms and conditions come in most in handy, because normally you don't even need to worry about the terms, and your customers aren't going to worry about the terms, and you're not going to worry about the terms if everything goes as planned. It's when things go wrong that you need to have outlined the procedures of exactly how people are going to get out of that situation, and you can get out of that situation as well. And most of the time, if you're smart at business and somebody is trying to get out of the contract with you, you want to let them out of that contract, because it's no fun to do business with somebody that doesn't want to do business with you. You can't force someone. You can't. A friend of mine, when I was in contracts in law school, said this thing that was extremely funny to me at the time, but extremely true. And it was, why can't we create contracts where if somebody breaches the contract and doesn't live up to their end of the bargain, it's like a crime and they like go to jail? And my friend, who was kind of borderline like genius, I think, not that this is necessarily genius, but he himself was like kind of a genius. He said, well, because we don't create slaves in the United States. And if you force someone to fulfill a contract or say they have to go to jail, then you've created a slave situation. And it's 100% true. So you don't want to put anything in your contract that is creating a slave situation where you're forcing this person to stay in the contract and they don't want out. So you want to outline very fair terms of what's going to happen when things don't work out in those circumstances that they don't work out, which does happen and will happen if you have a sufficient number of clients or customers. So also you want to outline what's going to happen if things do work out. So a super common situation that when people come to me about contracts, like service contracts or something, and it's like an agency situation, and they're like, I don't know how to create kind of a standard contract for my clients that is just something I can use over and over and over. And I always ask them, like, just make it super simple. Just have a portion on your contract, a one to 2 page contract that just says, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, once a week, we're going to have this call. I'm going to, provide this much activity on creating Facebook ads. I'm going to do this on YouTube. I'm going to, whatever exactly literally what you're going to do on your side of your side of the agreement, then just lay it out. Like, number 1, I'm going to come to your office. Number 2, we're going to discuss this for 1 hour. It's that simple. So you want to outline, what's going to happen if things do work out between you. And then, on the reverse side of that, lay out exactly what they're going to owe you. If that's just payment, then that's really simple. That's like once a month on the 3rd, a recurring payment of, $1,000 a month is going to get pulled out, or whatever it is. If they have to provide you with some sort of, like I'm in a contract with somebody right now where I'm providing like lead magnets in exchange for them like placing some ads for me. So they want to like test a lot of things, and on my responsibility on that is that they can't run the ads until I've created the lead magnet. So one of the responsibilities that should be written in that contract, as it is because I created the contract, says that, you know, that's my responsibility, is to provide these materials. And if they request a material and I can't provide it, then I will. It's still my responsibility. They're not going to go out of pocket and hire someone to do it or spend their time doing it themselves. So that's essential, to lay out what you're going to do and what they're going to do. And that's a really simple contract right there. And you don't need to do anything special. You don't need to go to the courthouse and have it signed. You guys just agree to it, sign it, e-sign it, whatever, and then you have a valid contract. Okay. Terms are always going to set up the guidelines so that each transaction is a win-win. A lot of people, I see this, another super common issue is that people have terms and conditions that strongly favor the business and kind of don't allow people to get out of their contract. So again, this is like a slavery type situation, and this is how the court will look at it if you go to court. And this is the reason you have these things, is kind of to avoid having to go to court. So if you have very fair terms, fairness is the name of the game. You can't have a contract that's unfair. You don't want to have a business that's unfair. You don't ever want to kind of be elevating your business importance above you know, what the client is getting. You need to have a win-win situation that's actually expressing fairness to the client and to yourself. And if you do that in your terms, it shouldn't be a problem. So you don't want to put something in your terms or in your contract, whatever it is, that says, if you want to get out of this contract, it's going to be $10,000 or something, when, you know, the product that you're selling is like $100, and you're telling them they have to be stuck in this monthly thing for a year or something like that, like some sort of forced continuity situation. That's unfair. So just don't create a business practice that's unfair. And most of the time, as long as you outline that in your terms, you'll be fine. So yeah, like I said, you don't want to use the terms to get the upper hand on your client. So you have to talk about what your company is going to provide to the customer, what the customer is going to provide your company. Normally that's going to be money. Maybe it's some sort of materials, like kind of how I outlined. You want to have your refund policy, talking about what's going to happen if things don't work out, and the procedures, how the payments are going to be processed, where the customer is going to find your privacy policy, which I'm going to talk about tomorrow. If you want to get access to that, go to my Facebook group, llcfreedom.com/group, and that will redirect you to my Facebook group where you can get in there. Make sure that you outline exactly where the litigation is going to take place in the worst case scenario, but you kind of have these, you need to think about your terms and conditions as a worst case scenario situation. That's the whole point of them, is to protect you and protect the client, and just make sure everybody's clear, extremely clear on what's going to happen. Talk about what type of activity is going to be acceptable in the forums, the Facebook groups, all of that, and then your boilerplate stuff, which are severability clauses, limitations on liability, indemnity clauses. Whew, that is a mouthful of things. So terms and conditions, it's kind of hard to make this like super duper exciting, but it's a vital piece of your business, and it's something that everyone must have. I mean, not like you're required to have it, but if you don't have it, you're just making a huge mistake. So make sure that you have your terms and conditions in place. And if you want to talk with me about this further, you can always go to Chance at LLC Freedom. Let me just put this on now. Chance at llcfreedom.com. That's my email. And join the Facebook group. That's by far the easiest way to get a hold of me. That's just LLC Freedom. Okay, let's hide that. llcfreedom.com/group. And that's how you can that will redirect over to my group. So anyway, terms and conditions, there you go. Get in my Facebook group. Tomorrow, privacy policy, that will end up the 5-video series of legal compliance. Covered a lot of stuff. It's spanned 2 weeks, and I can't even remember everything that was covered. But definitely, if you watch those 5 videos, you're going to be like 10,000 miles ahead of everyone else in your industry. So do that. let me know what you want me to cover after I'm wrapping up legal compliance tomorrow, and I will jump right on that. All right, everybody, hope you're having a great day. I will talk to you guys tomorrow.